this wonderful event. Okay, so my name is Runkle. I'm the founder and president of Mercy for Animals, and our mission is to prevent cruelty to farmed animals and promote compassionate food choices and policies. Now, we do this in 4 program areas, which I want to talk about briefly. The first is undercover investigations. Sending people into factory farms, slaughterhouses, and hatcheries, wired with hidden cameras, and documenting what takes place behind the closed doors of these absolutely horrific facilities. And we use these investigations to push for change. Now, as most of you here know, when it comes to the numbers, 99 out of every 100 animals that humans use, exploit, kill are farmed animals. Yet these creatures, who are just as sensitive and intelligent as dogs and cats, they have the fewest advocates, the fewest allies, and the least protection. And that's why Mercy for Animals focuses exclusively on protecting them. So our investigations support our second program area, which is legal advocacy. We seek to increase the legal protection and legal rights that farmed animals have. We seek to enforce the few protections that are on the books for these animals and push for stronger state and federal laws as well. Our third program area is corporate outreach, pushing the largest players in the food industry, everyone from Walmart to McDonald's, to do away with the cruelest factory farm practices, to get animals out of tiny cages, to stop mutilating them without painkillers, to stop slitting their throats while they're fully conscious at the slaughterhouse. And our fourth program area, perhaps the most important, is education, creating an informed constituency, people who know who farmed animals are, how they are unique individuals, so that they can make informed decisions, moving towards a plant-based diet, away from a diet that is based on meat, dairy, and eggs. Okay, so that's a little bit about Mercy for Animals. Today, I want to start out with this quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "Our lives begin to end the moment that we become silent about things that matter." And today I want to talk about things that matter and about using our voices. All of us here in this room, we have really won life's lottery. To be born human, to have free will, to have a voice, to be able to make decisions, and to be able to be involved in a political process in a society where we can push for change, we can fight against oppression. And I'm going to encourage everyone not to waste this incredible opportunity that we have, and to find your unique voice, to go out into the world and to advocate on behalf of animals who are so weak and vulnerable and at our mercy. I want to start out with this quote from Dr. Jane Goodall when I'm talking about things that matter. She said, "We have to understand that we are not the only beings on this planet with personalities and minds." Now, Dr. Goodall spent over 40 years observing and living with and studying chimpanzees in Africa. And she did this work at a time when even the veterinary community was not united in their belief that all animals suffered physical pain, let alone emotional pain and discomfort. And it was through Dr. Goodall's work that she started to peel back the layers of preconceived notions of things that separate human animals from non-human animals. She started to find many common things in other animals, especially with chimpanzees, everything from language to culture to the use of tools and empathy. Now, you don't have to study chimpanzees or animals for 40 years to see in this photograph that the cold steel of a stethoscope evokes the same gasp and the same startled reaction when it touches the skin of a human primate and that of a non-human primate. And we live in a world, both in Australia and in the United States, where companion animals, especially dogs and cats, are considered very much to be our friends. In Australia, over 40% of people share their homes with dogs. Over 70% have a companion animal of some kind. In the US, half of these animals will receive gifts this Christmas. These animals, we give acupuncture, we take to the veterinarian, we do everything in our power to make sure that their lives are good the plight or the interests of others. I want to talk a little bit about who animals are and the deep level of thinking and feeling and loyalty and friendship and bonds that they experience. Now, this is a photograph that made international headlines. It was taken just a few years ago in China. Now, these are two street dogs. They were never adopted by humans. They were never given names. But to each other, they were best friends. They spent every waking moment together. Now, one afternoon, the female was hit and killed by a car. Her male companion stood by her side for over 6 hours, licking her face, nudging her, trying to push her to safety. Now, if this is not an image and a story of loyalty and companionship and friendship, I certainly don't know what is. And this, of course, is not an isolated incident. There are stories of German shepherds watching guard over the grave of their guardians for years on end, only going home to retrieve a meal and to come back. Stories in India of a mother cow whose baby was hit and killed by a truck, coming back every single day to block that truck, to slow that truck down, showing that she never forgot what had happened to her baby. They even repainted this truck. They tried to make it so she didn't know what was going on, but she did not forget. That maternal bond and the trauma and the grief that she experienced lived on for many years. Now, science oftentimes is very slow to catch up to what most of us already know from what we observe in other animals. But just a few years ago, hundreds of the leading scientists across the world signed what was called the Cambridge Declaration of Consciousness. And what they said was that other animals, not just mammals, but birds and even octopus, are just as conscious and aware as humans are. Now, in a study on empathy, which I would argue says more about our own lack of human empathy than that of the intended subjects, which were rats, they took rats and they put one in a tiny enclosure, which you see here. And they took the other rat and they had her be free. And what they found was that the rats would study and learn quickly how to press a lever to let their distress and suffering cage mate out of the enclosure. Now, what they found is that when the enclosure was empty, or there was a fake rat inside, the rat did not behave in the same way, showing in fact that rats, like many other animals, have a deep sense of empathy for others. And they did this even though